I am Cytherea chorus dacit, Venus immanente luna, inunctec nymphis gratiae decentes alterna terram quantiat pede dum gravis cyclopum volcanus ardens urit officinas. Now Cytherean Venus leads dances under the moon, and the nymphs with fit graces link arms, strike the earth with interchanging feet, while blaze-hot Vulcan oversees the Cyclopean factories. Now it is right to bind our glossy hair with green myrtle or flowers unloosened from the land. Now it is right to sacrifice to Faunus in open groves, whether he requests lambs or prefers a kid. So into the ritual world, it continues with a choice between two things. You strike the earth with interchanging feet. Now you dance with this foot and now with this foot. You can sacrifice a lamb or you can sacrifice a kid. You can sacrifice, you can put green myrtle in your hair, or you could leave the flowers unloosed. You've got loads of choice. Pallid death strikes with level foot the taverns of paupers and towers of kings. O blessed Cestius, the sum of brief life forbids us to take up long hope. Soon night will press you, and the fabled mains, and Pluto's airless house of exile. Once there, the dies cast won't give you the amphora of wine, nor will you marvel at tender Lycidas, for whom the young crew grow hot, and maidens will soon all glow. So into this world of alternations, pallid death strikes a level foot. So death doesn't alternate, it just puts out a kind of foot, essentially tripping everyone up in the ritual dance. And Cestius was from a family of merchants. So the reference to the amphora of wine. In fact, in archaeological museums, there's amphora with Cestius's family insignia on it. So you can kind of track this person who is lost that Horace is remembering. And I like Pluto's airless house of exile, the black room that you will go to where you'll never feel love or lust again. So that's one of the only kind of full poems that I wrote a commentary on in this book. And I think I like it because of its elegiac aspect. I realised that when I finished this, most of the poems are about loss in some way, or the whole book feels like it's about loss. But it's actually kind of a book of polemic and philological close reading, so that's kind of odd. I guess there's an implicit theory of language in which if the language spoken or written in the past is a kind of abyss, the only thing to really do with an abyss is to close read it. So that's what I did. Moving to 1993, so this is a poem by Denise Riley. It's from a poem called Wherever You Are, Be Somewhere Else. So I go to the word processor, longing for line cables to loop out of the machine straight to my head and back, as I do want to be only transmission. The Gothic promise of the term word processor is imagined and brought to figure as the line cables and their loop, straight to my head and back. The stanza break between head and back drags the cables across to the left like a returning cartridge running along its ribbon of ink. Science fiction more usually presents the idea of being plugged into the matrix as either a nightmare or a revelation, rather than a handy solution of the problems of lyric self. However ironic, or hammed up as the poem puts it. But in this, the poem follows its dystopian title, Wherever You Are, Be Somewhere Else, which is in fact culled from an advertisement for Nintendo Game Boy. The loop out and back is also a model of the reflexive self, speaking to itself infinitely. Infinite thought, and transmitting from this soliloquy or wire, I do want to be only transmission, the lyric says. Although this is a longing for a state, it's a kind of pure state of only transmission. It's a kind of, it wouldn't be through language, or it would be through a kind of completely transformed language, a non-social language, or a purely social language, which everyone could understand. It would be a kind of moment, a culminating moment of history. A mad thought. Although this is a longing for a state promised by lyric, but reachable only in a sci-fi actualization of the very name itself, word processor. This is a Christmas close reading. It's from the German monk Ottfried von Weissenberg. He was a monk at the Abbey of Weissenberg. So this is written in circa 870. It was written in a southern dialect of Rhine-Franconian, and it's a rhyming version of the Gospels, because what else would he write about? He probably couldn't justify the time writing about anything else. Evangelion book. It's a gospel harmony in rhyming couplets. And this is translation. Coleridge also translated it. With joy she gave her breast to the child, not withdrawing, so that God's Son could suckle. Blessed, blessed were the breasts Christ kissed. And I don't know how to pronounce the Rhine-Franconian, but it sounds perhaps a bit like this. Der Bot sie mit gelusti, der Kindisken brusti. Nimid si sunta si ukti, den goat sun sugti. Vervola rad the brusti, the Christ e Christi. So the rhyming words there are breast and kissed. A breast and child. And God and suckle. So Ottfried infuses this rhyming icon of Mary suckling her child with a repetition of joy and blessing, the associations of the Virgin Mary. As Luke 1:48 says, "From henceforth all generations shall call me blessed." The detail of Mary bearing her breast without hiding is a detail of consciousness. The possible alternation, withdrawing, not withdrawing, is Mary's residual human presence in the scene, as someone both chosen and inflected with agency. The lactating Madonna is an icon because it is an image. Here, a linguistic icon which fulfills the incarnation of God's word made flesh. And this is one of the kind of, the whole genre of Annunciation paintings is kind of freaky for exactly this kind of scary idea of God's word made flesh. The mortal body of God then feeds, and in doing so fuses divine and human flesh, the infinite nourished by the mortal. Physiologically understood as maternal blood heated and transformed, which is a kind of medieval understanding, Mary's breast milk forms the expression of the body's inner word or soul, as the self made gift, the assonance of brusti and Christ, breast and Christ, with jikusti, kiss, is a linguistic cluster drawing into itself the ground of repeated blessing. Jikusti, blessing, is God's love for the world in this tiny leap of language within a metrical line which brings brusti and Christ together in joy. And if you want to read more about the idea of milk as maternal blood in the medieval world, I recommend Caroline Walker Bynum's wonderful Blood, Theology and Practice in Late Medieval Northern Germany and Beyond. It's really good. And then leaping forwards to Gawain and the Green Knight, which is also a Christmas tale, because it's King Arthur is it starts in Christmas time when King Arthur is holding a feast and says, "Can someone tell me an amazing story?" And then a Green Knight walks in and says, "Cut my head off." So Gawain does. Then the Green Knight picks his own head up and walks out and says, "In a year's time, come and find me and I'll do the same to you." It's a good story. This is from that the second encounter with the Green Knight, and it's a description of him. Him think as quem him to quell as quick go himselven. He is as pleased to quem, to kill, quell, as to live, quick go himself. So he's as pleased to kill as he is to live. To kill and to live are bound to each other. Quelling to the Green Knight is second nature. He kills, and that's for him as living. The Green Knight doesn't kill to live in a murderous logic, but rather his urge to live and to kill are equally bound by joy. This perception of the Green Knight is narrated in the poem by the guide who leads Gawain to the Green Chapel. It is the guide who equates the Green Knight with death, that is, with the idea that the Green Knight's force of life is so strong that, feeding on itself, it exceeds mortality and will also quell life around him. The line is a circle of the Green Knight's self, beginning with him and ending himselven, so that the interplay of alliterative stresses creates the green himselven. This is a tiny bit of dialogue between two characters called Ping and Peter. I'm against any kind of prism, said Ping. If you had a prism, what would you do with it? I'd drape it in black velvet and put it away. I wish I could do the same kind of British accent you did, actually, because this is perfect dialogue for it. The Catholic, it's exactly that same kind of personality. The Catholic Church at one point prohibited experiments with prisms. Exactly, they were quite right. That beam of light's going in a straight line, or it's not going anywhere at all. There's no more distracting a sight than a beam of light going round a corner. Newton, however, used prisms in his optics. Yes, but even he turned against them later. He called them the bad apples of the optics world, the soggy bagels of the 18th century. Did he? Where was that? Oh, somewhere in his notes, I'll forget exactly. My problem with light has always actually been its colour. Splitting out different colours is obviously abhorrent. Awful. Terrible. Yes. I feel that as long as light speaks loudly and clearly, there's actually no need for it to be colourful at all. Exactly. It should stop bouncing off things. When light hits a surface, it should just stick there. Just a taster from a later part of the novel.